Welcome back to MLS Cafe, episode number 6. Gonna be honest, this past week in Major League Soccer was kind of tame, I guess you could say. Tame and a little bit more exciting than lame. But the good thing is we will have Timber Joey, North America's most famous and most notable and well-recognized and well-liked mascot on today. He was our interviewer for this week's MLS Cafe, and what a cool guy he was.
He was awesome, man. Just like you said this weekend, it was tame and timid. That's why we're bringing in the Timber Joey. Again, phenomenal guy, fantastic guy. And should we head straight into the notable news?
I think we should, because there's not really too much to talk about here.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the notable news of Major League Soccer this past week. Listen, I'm going to let you take the walk here, but I just want to start off here because I was the one present in the video we just released talking about Charlotte and how much success they're going to have this opening season. They're a little overly confident, if I'm being honest. Do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, I feel like they're all over the place right now. They've recently just put out that they want to beat Atlanta's attendance record, which I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
You know, before it looked like actually they could reach it. You know, they had pretty cheap seats. Now they raised the prices tenfold. Yeah. The seats are super expensive. The concessions super expensive too, which is the complete opposite of Atlanta. The reason a lot of people go to Atlanta games is not because their team is very good, because right now they kind of suck. It's because of the cheap tickets, the cheap concessions, and the atmosphere, man, that's inside Mercedes-Benz.
And also, you got Joseph Martinez. You know, right now, of course, we don't have the roster, you know, what they're going to be running in these lineups in their inaugural season. But I don't think we're going to have a Joseph Martinez caliber kind of player on Charlotte FC.
Yeah, hopefully the more expensive route of tickets to concessions translates to the game, you know, to
yeah,
players.
I would hope so. All this money they're making off of these season tickets will be getting to maybe potentially using the player. I mean, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, especially because, you know, their owner, I think, is double as rich as Arthur Blank.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is going to be the best rivalry, in my opinion, for Major League Soccer. Because even outside there, both of the owners of Charlotte and Atlanta actually both own professional sports teams who hate each other outside of Major League Soccer. So it just works out perfectly that now they both own Major League Soccer teams too. And again, it's the closest in distance. I think it's like a 3-hour time. And it's just going to be a really, really good rivalry.
Yeah, in my opinion, they can easily beat Atlanta's single game record being around 72,000 or 73,000. You know, if Atlanta plays Charlotte at Charlotte in the Panther Stadium, then they're going to easily get like 60,000 plus. You know, they could easily break it then. But to be consistently a good team in attendance, I just don't really see it happening with them right now.
I mean, you know that first week or two is going to be packed out because it's a new team. But if the team's not performing up to par, I mean, you're going to be taking a blow there in your numbers.
They got to splash some money, man. They got to splash some cash down on this team and get some big players.
I think so, too.
And with that, should we go into Who Spilt the Beans? A lot of juicy stuff in that content.
Yes, that's actually pretty packed out right now. So who spilt the beans?
Who spilt the beans?
We are here, Who Spilled the Beans, and we got some juicy beans for you. The first one being Jozy Altidore.
Every week with this guy, hold on, every single goddamn week, I feel like Jozy Altidore is just spilling the beans and digging himself a deeper grave. I mean, when's this guy gonna learn? If it's not Twitter, if it's not on the field, now what did he do this time?
Dude, he's highlighted in more headlines and he scored goals in the past 3 seasons, man.
And that's an alarming statistic.
It is, dude. It's a very bad statistic. Again, I'm no statistician. I'm no number cruncher, but that's something that you don't want to see. Jozy Altidore, he's been frozen out of Toronto FC squad because he got into a little altercation with Chris Armas. Details still haven't been released, what they entailed, whether it was maybe him, you know, cursing at him or something like that. Maybe some physical contact with Chris Armas, but we still don't know. But now he's frozen. He called him Jozy Altidore.
Yeah, we actually used that pun in one of our older videos, too, if you guys are watching us on the YouTube.
But you know what really spilled my beans, bro?
When somebody stole that on Reddit?
When I saw that same joke. Again, I've never seen this joke used before.
We made it up, and it wasn't even a good joke.
Yeah, it wasn't even really a good joke.
Yeah.
But it was in the video, and then I went on Reddit, and it was top comment, man, on the post, and because I'm banned, I couldn't even do anything. I just sat back and just took it, man. Couldn't do anything.
Yeah. I mean, like, what the hell? It's not even a good joke, and you stole our joke. You didn't even give us credit, and we can't even post anything on Reddit anymore because we're, like, just shadow banned on all these different platforms. So the fact that somebody's just, the only thing of our content they decide to, I guess, use and advertise is just stealing one of our, like, the worst joke we've ever made on benchkings history. But, worst jokes. I want to still talk about Altidore here. Starting off, go back a couple years. Didn't everybody in the United States love this guy? He's cancer for the U.S. men's national team, and that was cancer in Toronto. And like you said, Altidore, I think he actually is going to be out the door now permanently. I almost said perfectly, but yeah, perfectly permanently. And this his fault. I don't care what people say. I know some people look at him, and I know Toronto did like him for quite some time, as did, again, the people in the States here. But just looking at that team and Chris Armas, I know some people look at Chris and say, you know, his coaching style is maybe a bit undesired. And I mean, I kind of agree with that. Looking at what the team's looking like right now with Apozuelo, now you're going to be down Jozy too. I don't think it's Chris's fault, though. I'm putting all the blame here. No matter what happened, no matter what was detailed in this argument or this bout that they had, I'm putting the blame here on Jozy. He's got to know his place. No matter who you are, you're the player, he's the coach. Show some damn respect.
Yeah, for me, I feel like there was two very notable things that made Jozy this way, that made him really spiral out of control. The first one being Taylor Twellman saying that Josh Sargent was better than him. Because, again,
So
Jozy
dumb.
has such an inflated ego that any bit of news that goes against him, even constructive criticism, he just takes it to heart and he gets super pissed about it. The first strike was when he called Taylor Twellman a white boy with connects. Now the second strike is him being out of this team. And I think the reason why he's so turnt right now is because he wasn't called up to the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things are getting under his skin.
I think so, too. I think he's on, like, the verge of, like, a mental breakdown.
He's on the verge of self-combustion.
What was that? Oh, like when you go on fire?
Yeah,
Is
or
that
combustion.
like, a true thing? Yeah, combustion.
I think I added an extra
Is that
ST.
like a real thing? Because I always see that in like Cards Against Humanity, like combustion. Like, is it possible technically for me to just explode right now?
I don't think so, unless you're like in space or something. But right now we're in a atmosphere. So.
I mean, yeah. So.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're good, man.
Okay, I don't really know where we're going with that, but I'll tell you something who's not going anywhere. Nani was suspended for 2 games. I think he was suspended in, what game was that? I think he was suspended in the Orlando taking on the DC United game. Then he also missed, what game did he miss? Toronto. And now he's going to be missing this upcoming game with the Red Bulls.
Which, did you see why he was suspended? That little like tap, that little push on the ref, which I feel like was a little bit soft, man. Like, it was like a little tap on the shoulder, just to get his attention.
Yeah, I mean, it was as soft as Jozy is, honestly. I mean, there's no reason for that to be a suspension, and that's the most valuable player. He's the MVP in Orlando. The guy's been phenomenal this season. I mean, going back to, like, what was it, week 1 or week 2, that little back flick he got into the net, then the week after with that stunner, I mean, it's ridiculous to actually look at this guy and be like, that's a 2-game suspension.
Yeah, like, I get it is in the rule book. When you do touch a referee, you do get suspended most likely. But we're NYCFC fans, and we're saying that he shouldn't have been suspended. That's when you know that it was a super soft contact.
Exactly. This is one of our biggest rivals next to New Jersey.
Yeah, man. That's when you know that it was very soft and it shouldn't have happened.
Which does remind me, I have to take Nani off of my fantasy team. Because I just actually put him on. I didn't realize it was a 2-game suspension. I thought it was just last day.
Well, you better
last
do it
weekend.
quick, man, because the games are about to happen.
I know. I really got to crunch these numbers here.
You do, and with that being said, should we head over to the next segment being Mocha Madness?
Mocha
Plays of the Week?
Madness. That's actually my favorite segment. So let's head on over to the Mocha Madness Plays of the Week.
Let's go.
Mocha Madness Plays of the Week.
First play of the week, actually both plays of the week are going to be hurting us here because they are by the same guy, being Lucas Zelarayan. No spoiler there, as if you guys were watching last week, as we said, it was a bit lame and tame, but these are 2 goals that just weren't. They did sting a little bit again, we're NYCFC fans, and the Columbus Crew was led all the way to the finish by Lucas Zelarayan. This first goal was a stunner. It was off of a free kick, maybe about 25 to 30 yards away from the box itself. Not even the box, from the net itself. And Sean Johnson, NYCFC's keeper, just stood there like a goddamn statue. Wasn't tested at all, not even once that game. Finally gets a shot on, and he couldn't make the one save that he had to do. And once he scored one, you opened up the goddamn floodgates, and that's what led to the second goal, if you want to talk about that one.
Yeah, let's head over to the second. I feel like right now Lucas Zelarayan reminds me of that one dude that does everything on a group project. He's literally just controlling the team Columbus, and the only reason they have some points on the board is because he's the only one that's scoring. The only player that's actually scored for Columbus so far this season has been Zelarayan and own goals. He has 3, own goals has 2. So he's really the main reason why they're doing not even good, but they're just hanging in there. They're staying afloat. But that second goal was a beauty as well. Again, a curler to the near post, man. Sean Johnson couldn't do anything about that. I feel like the first goal, Sean Johnson could have done better. He was like a statue, man. He didn't even move. He was stuck in the ground. But the second goal, beautifully placed. No goalkeeper in the world is stopping that.
There's the thing, everybody was on Sean Johnson's ass about last game, but I'm not. I mean, yeah, obviously he should have made that first save, but I'm still standing by. I think Sean Johnny is one of the best guys in the game, and he's one of my favorite captains, too. I think he's a beautiful leader, too. But with that being said...
Zelarayan's just better.
No, I just mean when Zelarayan was in that position, there was nothing really he could do about that. Stand as a statue or try to make the save either way that was going to go in my opinion. Where was the team? I mean, the team absolutely fell asleep in front of him. There was no defending. There was no offense in the entire beginning of that game. And that's what we're talking about. This Brazilian coming in for this weekend, he's the only hope left for this team right now. Because I know they were starting off to have a very good season, but there's just been, between the DC United game to start the season and now this loss to the Columbus Crew, I feel like these are 2 wins that they should have been, these are extra points that NYCFC should be walking out with, but they don't. And also, because I'm going on a little bit of a tirade here, if you want to talk about the Columbus Crew right now, And this is coming from a USMNT guy here. We're all Americans, right? We're all from the States. Josh's artist. Trash.
Oh, yeah, like everyone knows that, man.
Do they? Because
You couldn't
I put that in the Facebook group, and now I am no longer in that Facebook group.
Well, it depends what group you're in. You know, if you're just a reasonable, logical dude, then you're going to say he's trash. But if you're a little bit turned, then you're going to say he's not.
See, I was a bit turned after that loss. So the only thing I could fire back at these Columbus fans on Facebook was just calling out their players.
Just, dude, I just want to go back to Columbus man Lucas Zelarayan, though. Again, 2 free kicks, 1 game. That's the first time it's ever happened since Giovinco-esque. And right now he has 3 in the season, which is the 3rd most in history. And we're only 5 games in the season, dude. Or 7 games, but he only played in 5 games. Do you understand how crazy that is? He can easily break the record.
Did you just get that knowledge? Did it just drip out of your ear, that knowledge right there from the dome?
I looked that up a couple hours before.
Oh, I was going to say, because I'm very impressive. You just know, like, random statistics like that.
Yeah, David Beckham had 5, I believe. Giovinco had 6, and then 7 in 2016 and 17.
Nobody likes to show off. Jesus Christ. But what do we have after Mocha Madness? Oh, it's our former favorite segment here, because we always switch it up between Mocha Madness and Americano Espresso. Which is the favorite one? Which one do you like first? Joking aside. Do you like the Americano Espresso, like players here, or do you like the Mocha Madness segment?
It's like a kid trying to pick their favorite parent. You know, you can't decide. There always is a favorite, but I just can't say it out loud.
Because for me, I really like the American feel of this next segment. Really just prideful talking about that. But Mocha Madness Plays of the Week. I love that one because it's like looking back at the goals.
50 stars, baby. Let's do it.
50 stars, let's do it.
Americano Espreso.
Americano Espresso. And the first thing that I want to talk about, that I really want to dive deep into, is Timothy Weah. His team Lille just won the Ligue 1 trophy against Angers this past weekend, and they just beat up the likes of PSG, man. Such a good, reputable team, one of the best in the world, and they beat PSG by 1 point at the top. That's quite the achievement by Timothy Weah and his team.
Yes, that is a huge accomplishment. You're saying by 1 point, and like the 1 point is the big takeaway from here. You beat PSG, guys. That is a huge feat to have. If it's 1 point or 1,000 points, well, 1,000 points would be getting a lot of headlines here. But either way, a win is a win and a loss is a loss. And I just really want to congratulate that and just take note of how incredible that was. And something really incredible here is my next Americano Espresso, unless you have anything to add to that first one.
I have one more thing just to add real quick. Just Timothy Weah. You know, he's playing almost every single game. He has 28 matches played. Unlike Zach Steffen, where, you know, I love the guy, but he barely plays games with Man City. This dude right here, Timothy Weah, he plays in virtually every single game. I believe he has 3 goals on the season. And then also another CONCACAF member, Jonathan David, on that same squad, dude. I feel like CONCACAF and Lille just go together like pineapple and pizza beautifully, because I love that, man.
You like pineapple pizza?
Yeah, dude.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Controversial.
I'm gonna be honest with you here. I don't think you like pineapple pizza. I think you were looking for some kind of connection like goes together like peanut butter and jelly, and you couldn't think of one. But you said pineapple and pizza, and now you're gonna live this lie that that's what goes together in your mind. Because I've known you for years, and I have never once seen you eat pineapple on pizza. But I've seen you crush a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Aloha, bro. I'm wearing the Hawaii right now, dude. It goes perfectly, man. I'm telling you, you got to try it.
Is there pizza in Hawaii? Is that like a thing?
You can't dish until you take it, man. I'm telling you, the deep
what
dish.
What does this mean?
The deep dish pineapple pizza. I'm telling you, it's the future, man.
Is that a thing in Chicago? Is it deep dish pineapple pizza too?
It might be, but I gotta talk about another player that looks like he has a little pineapple on his dome, Julian Green. You want to discuss him real quick?
Okay, yeah. Greuther Fürth have earned promotion to the Bundesliga with a goal from Julian Green in a 3-2 win over Dusseldorf on the final match of the season. Okay, it's funny how Matthew Hoppe and Josh Sargent go down while he goes up.
Yeah, dude, it's kind of like a 2-for-1 swap. It's like, do you like that or do you not swap?
I like swap, but I don't know if I like the swap because I don't know if I'd make that trade, that swap in real life. But I'm happy to see Julian Green make some noise here.
I'm very happy as well. Again, 9 goals, 2 assists on the season. He's the main reason why they're going up, and he's maybe sort of the reason why those two are going down, you know?
No, I agree with that 100%. But again, I can't say anything against Jozy Sargent. I mean, aside from having the best hair in the game, and hey, he's a fellow ginger with you, man. They got that red locks going on. His is a little more frisky though. Yours is a little more timid. But I can't say anything negative about Jozy Sargent.
But you saw how devastated he was after that loss. Werder Bremen going down. He was devastated. But I did see some rumors that he might be actually switching teams. So if he does, I'm super stoked to see that.
I mean, I'd be really happy with that. I would love to see him come over to Major League Soccer, but I'm a dreamer. What can I say?
Too soon, man.
Too soon. I know.
You don't want to ruin a man's career before it even begins.
Come over to the retirement league.
We have one more bit of news here. Should we discuss that real quick?
Jesse Marsch?
Yes, Jesse Marsch. He got an award. Again, the Austrian Bundesliga. It's quite an easy league. He's especially if you're Red Bull Salzburg. But he did get nominated for an award, and he did win it, being the coach of the season.
I mean, hopefully he wins that with Germany again next year.
Yeah, hopefully he does. Again, he's now going to RB Leipzig. Tyler Adams is going to be there. Brendan Aronson is probably going to be moving there not too shortly after, maybe in a couple months. So him in Germany with RB Leipzig, let's hope that their team does some damage there.
Exactly. And I want to talk about some more damage here. Some collateral damage to some trees up in Portland. We're going to be getting to our guest now. And everybody, once again, his name is Timber Joey, the most notable mascot in North America. And if you don't know Major League Soccer, you still know who Timber Joey was. And before we start the interview, I actually want to address something here that was kind of funny. When we actually went to interview him, we had like a whole bunch of issues. There was like multiple Zooms opened up. The AirPods weren't working correctly. And he joined and he just had the meanest, mean mugging face, just staring at the camera. His hair was like all crazy. He was just looking... And he just looked so annoyed because like we weren't late. We were both in the same place at the right time, but we just couldn't see each other. It was like a disaster. And he started talking, and he was just the nicest guy, the most down-to-earth, giving person I've ever met.
He has a good poker face, I can tell you that.
A very good poker face. Definitely want to go to Vegas with him. Yeah.
Timber Joey, everybody.
Timber Joey. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now being joined with the most notable and well-liked mascot in North American sports, the pride and joy of the Portland Timbers. His name is Joey Weber, but you may know him better as Timber Joey of the Portland Timbers. How are you doing, and welcome to MLS Cafe?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great, having a good time.
Great. We're super stoked to have you on today. We've been looking forward to doing this. Had a little bit of technical difficulties, I guess you could say, coming into this, but we're happy we're able to actually be able to sit down now and do this. But this brings me into my first question. I want to jump right into this, waste no time. Typically, when we do these interviews, kind of talks, we always ask one question to start off. And for you, it's going to be a little different. What was your journey to becoming Timber Joey? What was it like going up through that? And how's it affected your everyday life?
I kind of think that it's something that started, the same way maybe a professional athlete of any sort started. I started by being in love with sports. Played soccer as a kid, like most people in my area. Got into baseball, football. Then it moved on to rodeos and rugby. And when the opportunity came up to join the Timbers, a professional soccer team, I went right with it. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be involved in sports, and I wanted to be around people and have the opportunity to help people. And this is what I've gotten out of it.
So was it like a complete joke on the side? Was it like a newspaper ad, or how did you find this like opportunity? Like, how did it land on your doorstep?
Huge fan of Lost, the TV show. And
okay.
One of the segments of commercials right before the last segment was Timber Jim's retiring. The Portland Timbers are looking for a new idea for a mascot. The reason I fell in love with the Portland Timbers and maybe really got into soccer is because I saw Timber Jim. He reminded me of things I did when I was younger, reminded me of my hometown, a lot of my friends. And I just really wanted to jump on board and be that person.
And before you ask your question, because I know you have something to ask too, you said you were watching Lost. What did you think of the ending of Lost? Just as a complete side note, because I finished that show and I'm still confused.
I think that it was something that was set up from the very beginning. If you watch how it was written, they wrote episode per episode for the first season. The second season didn't really make sense. You had to really fall in love with the characters in the third season, and going all the way through it ended the way that it started. Just kind of like a what did we just see?
I'm still looking forward to where that polar bear came from. Like, I'm still confused about that. But you can go now. So
yes, now let's head over to game day. So before the game starts, we know for players at least, they have some superstitions or routines that they go through. Is that the same with you? We have like a routine before the game starts, anything like that?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I try and get there before anybody. I'm a big fan of Dustin Pedroia, and I read an interview one time where he said that he was at the games as soon as the janitor would open the gate. And that's how I like to be. I like to be there 3-4 hours early, get in the stadium, experience the calm, kind of watch the madness build when the people start coming in. But I also want to be really safe. So I get the chainsaws ready, make sure they're full of gas, they're running right, the chains are tight, there's no rust or mismanaged links on the chain, so that we're going to be safe throughout the game. And then I just kind of enjoy that spirit, that building spirit, you actually get to see when there's nobody in the stands, and then the whole place full and going crazy. So
yeah, the calm before the storm.
Yeah, especially Providence Park. I feel like Providence Park has easily one of the best atmospheres in the league, if
yeah.
not the best atmosphere in the league. So it's
Yeah.
probably a special thing, you know, being the hype man up in there, getting the crowd all rowdy and everything like that. But we talked about it before with Timber Jim. You're the successor of him now. Timber Jim being such a outstanding, upstanding guy. Did you feel any pressure filling in his shoes, being in that position?
Definitely. You know, I think right off the bat, I said I wasn't ever going to be able to fill his shoes. He did everything grassroots. He did 90% of his act without asking any questions or asking for permission. You know, the front office freaked out a number of times, I'm sure, when all of a sudden there's a guy up on a light pole, the spar pole that he used to bring in. I think that started with him just calling PGE, the electrical company here, and having them put it in without asking. So big difference there, the way that we do our show. But yeah, I didn't try and fill his shoes. I just tried to maintain the traditions, and I hope I'm doing him proud.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely are, and maintaining the traditions, you definitely are. Moving on, a question that I kind of want to ask may actually be, I guess, conceived or perceived rather as, I guess, a little controversial to many. The MLS, Major League Soccer, has gone over some vast and various rebrands in the course of their existence. And just recently, we saw everything going on with the Columbus Crew, and that uprising out of the fans to save the Crew, Mark II, happened again. When it comes to the Portland Timbers, everybody right now is kind of looking at, well, I guess not everybody, the league itself is kind of stepping in and giving the MLS more of a European kind of feel, dropping names like the Rapids and the Revolution and trying to feel something more of like soccer club and football club and United and Real. Do you think that the Portland Timbers could ever undergo such a change with the culture they have there and just the history itself, even down to Providence Park, like you were saying before?
So I'll start out with, we've gone through a lot of changes. You know, this team was built basically by the fans naming the team back in the NASL days, in 75. So it's gone through the changes of NASL, USL, now MLS. The stadium's gone from Multnomah Civic Stadium to Civic Stadium to Jeld-Wen Field and now Providence Park. You know, the big change we had going from USL into MLS, we changed our logo. The fans didn't like it. It wasn't appreciated. And before we ever got on the field for our first MLS game, that logo was changed again. Then recently we changed it again, taking out Portland Timbers and just having the axe and the chevron. So I think changes like that are probably going to happen. You know, it's something that we want to build, you know, build a brand that people are wanting to follow us. Going to a Real Portland, I don't see that, but I'm not an owner. So, you know,
exactly.
If an owner wants to do something like that, I'm sure they'd try. I don't know how the fans would take it. You know, Portland Timbers and being in timber country and having such a history of logging and replanting and a history of taking care of our environment. I think it's a special thing that we have, and I hope it doesn't go away. But if it does, it does. We'll have to let the fans, you know, make the changes that they want after that happens, if it does.
And exactly. I mean, you're saying like you already have the culture there. And even if they ever went under some kind of rebrand or major change, completely dropping the Timber title, you still know people are going to be referring to it as the Portland Timbers.
I hope
you know,
so.
it's like with the Crew, you know, whatever was going to happen with them. Now they're kind of keeping the name of, you know, the Columbus Crew. They'll probably attempt it again in the future, but regardless, people were going to refer to the Columbus Soccer Club as the Columbus Crew. So same thing would happen with the Portland Timbers.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I'm sure that I've made this mistake of Kansas City Wizards, you know, and other teams, the Impact, Montreal Impact, and I'll continue to make those mistakes. It's not something you learn overnight, especially if you've been, you know, pushed this for so many years and rooted against these teams for so many years, and even maybe for them. It's still going to stick with some people, and you still see people at Providence Park that are referring it to as Civic Stadium. You know,
Yeah.
You have to let that generation go before you can accept the fact that it's been 100% rebranded. And I don't think that'll ever go away.
I agree. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, you're one of the most, again, we talked about before, most notable, popular mascots in the league and basically the whole entire North America. Now, that being said, personally, what do your friends and family think of that being basically the icon of the Portland Timbers?
I don't know. I was in Atlanta for the MLS Cup when we were down there, and I saw my friend on television, and I put a Facebook message out. And I said, "This is crazy. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, watching the MLS Cup, and there you are on Farmers Only talking about dating your wife." And he goes, "Just imagine how I feel every time I turn on the TV." So it doesn't seem like any different to me. I've always wanted to be in the arena and not in the stands. Um, I went to a couple rodeos before I decided I was going to rodeo. I was going to be the guy that rode the bulls and rode the bareback horses. I went to a lot of rugby games growing up before I was the guy who wanted to be in the rugby game, not the fan on the sidelines. So it's been something that I've always lived with, and I love being a part of the show as opposed to watching it.
No, definitely. Yeah, of course. And you were talking about growing up, and we did a little research here. At least I did some research here looking at who you were coming into this. And I see growing up, you attended the School of Forestry and you competed in different state forestry and state timber competitions.
Yeah.
Now, we're from the East Coast, we're from New York. While we're not necessarily in the city, we see a lot more buildings here than we do trees. Can you kind of explain what these competitions were like? And do you feel that there was one that you really excelled in and stood out in? Because from looking at like what I looked at, you seemed that you were pretty successful at what you did. So
I got really lucky. I grew up in a logging town. Part of our high school, I would say a third of our high school probably graduated through a forestry program, whether that was taking logging skills or, environmental skills and gardening skills to make a career. It could have been that, or you could go to a normal high school. I chose to do both. I went to the normal high school for half of my high school, and then my junior year and senior year, I went into the School of Forestry. We got the opportunity through the School of Forestry to compete in competitions where we would throw axes, climb poles, identify logging products. One of my favorite was the double bucking, where you have two people using a whipsaw, cutting back and forth. And what I really loved about it is that in professional, you can compete in Jack and Jill, where there's one female and one male. In high school, you can only compete in Jill competitions or Jack competitions, where there's two people of the same sex. And I chose to compete in the Jack competitions with my female partner, just because we loved cutting together. We knew each other's timing. We had great space when we were cutting, and we were still very competitive, even though it was one girl and one boy. So very exciting.
No. Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds interesting. Again, like over here, I can't even imagine that.
Oh yeah, the axe throwing, man, that seems pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I couldn't see that happening in Suffolk County. Let me just say that.
I don't know if you guys have this, but it's growing everywhere. You go to a bar or restaurant around town here, and they have axe throwing inside the bar.
No, we don't. We have that, but definitely not inside the bar. I mean, it's definitely, I don't even know where we would have that. I've seen it on certain people's like Facebooks, like they'll post
like down
it.
in Nashville, there's a lot of axe
Oh,
throwing
down
places.
Nashville, definitely. And more out east up here, if you go, especially if you go upstate, but definitely near the city here. And again, we're on Long Island. We're just right outside the city. Nobody's throwing any axes in the bar. And if they are, that's a whole different problem.
Got to run the other way.
Yeah, then we're leaving the bar.
I'm telling you, I'm just a business opportunity right here.
Yeah, exactly. This is $1 million market. But one thing I did want to ask is, when you aren't sawing logs on the pitch and just being the biggest hype factor to getting these Portland Timber crowds, and like you were saying before, this atmosphere in Providence Park is just so electric. When you aren't doing that, who is Timber Joey off the field? What fills your life?
A lot of what we do with my career that's different than what Timber Jim did is I spend a lot of time volunteering in the community through the Portland Timbers. So we go to schools and help teach kids to read. We clean up our neighborhoods. We do a lot of projects with Solve, where we go out and do weekly cleanups, plant trees with Friends of Trees. So I spend a lot of time, about 275 events every year that I go out and volunteer in the community through the Timbers. Then outside of that, I've got a little wood lot where I cut firewood. I broker arbor deals. I sell a little bit of real estate, and then I spend time at my house with my 2 dogs, 11 chickens, my wife, and brand new 5 ducks.
Growing up, we had chickens. Yeah, we still do have chickens.
Yeah,
but
you can hear some. Yeah,
yeah, you might
sometimes
actually
in the
hear one
audio.
come through here because we'll be talking to somebody from like San Diego and something. What the hell is that? Like, it's the chicken. Just be cool, you know. But
Well, they don't
that's
smell too good.
incredible.
They're all the way in the back of the property.
Great. And also, just side note here with those chickens, the fresh eggs, man, they're so much better than what you get in the store. They're
Amazing.
huge too. Like they're tremendous. I don't know what happens between like the process of the chicken laying the egg and then like ShopRite putting it on the shelf, but it's a different color, different size, different taste. It's insane. But yeah, as you're saying, that's incredible how much you give back to the community. And in comparison, I mean, that's huge, you know, and that's a great thing. And that just even adds more to like the legend and the mascot himself, and just not even mascot, just like the iconic look of who Timber Joey is and Timber Jim, just the whole Portland Timbers experience when you're that involved in the community.
We have an amazing community outreach program through Stand Together, and we've had, I would say, generations of people coming through, leading that program and creating more and more special events and making sure that we're doing the right thing by using our platform to give back. It's been very special, and it's one thing that I really love about this club.
Yeah,
it's incredible to hear. And again, just you going to basically all the home games, you know, being the mascot, being basically the figurehead of the Portland Timbers. How many logs do you think you've cut? You know, if you had to guesstimate, is it in the hundreds, the thousands?
In my life?
No, at the games. At the games.
So at the
games, we talking millions.
So I would say we go through probably 6 to 8 logs a year, depending on how many goal scorers we have, depending on the logs too. If you see, there's some games where I have to cut the log quite a bit thicker than others, and that's just because the environment, whether the log's been dried out or not. Because I have had them where we've cut the log slice, and as soon as I pick it up, it falls apart. So you want to make sure it at least sticks through the log ceremony at the end of the game.
And is there any log slices that you really hold near and dear to your heart, would you say?
Yeah. I cut a nail with one I cut for Darlington Nagme, and it made me cut at an angle, and it probably weighed 75 to 80 pounds.
Jesus.
And Darlington could barely lift it up. Just a
Did you put that one in the crowd? Did you put that one in the crowd? You just keep it to yourself until you gave it to Darlington?
I handed it up through the crowd, but there's many hands that are touching it when they pass it up. So I don't
stronger numbers.
It was awesome. Good. I got a little winded carrying it around the stadium for sure.
I call him Timber Jim, you know.
Yeah,
call backup. Yeah.
Little
when you're cutting these logs, like you're just saying, do you have a preference of chainsaw you're going to use? Because outside of here, I work for my local town, and I was actually just using the chainsaw the other day, and we have this, I guess it's like some cheap Walmart brand that's called Poulane or Poulan. And when you're cutting through something here, it's almost like a butter knife. Now, I don't know if it's just that one select saw I have, but do you have a preference? Because we got to do something about this, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. So at the stadium, I'm very lucky. A couple of years back when Makita was still sponsoring MLS, they hooked me up with some of the best Makita saws that have ever been built. They bought a company called Sachs Dolmar out of Germany in '85, and that's the original chainsaw company. So These are Sachs Dolmar 79cc chainsaws. They're amazing, but they're really hard to get. I had the first 2 in the United States. And so when I'm cutting, I definitely want something a little bit different. When I'm out in the woods or cutting at my wood lot, I use a lot of Stihl products.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a great brand. Definitely.
Yeah, and you can Stihl products, a Stihl chainsaw, you can get the smallest little homeowner chainsaw to as big as they make them. So I've got them all across the board, depending on what we're cutting.
Yeah. Just before, because I know we have some questions from our viewers that wanted to ask these. I was just showing you this too. I have a picture of this. I'll send it to you on Instagram. It was the weirdest thing. A tree fell towards like the water where I work outside of here. And typically when a tree falls, it brings the roots up the whole ground. This tree fell, and this had to be one of the biggest oak trees I've ever seen, right? This thing falls out of the ground, no root ball, no nothing. I don't know how this is possible. It's just like a circle in the ground, a perfect circle. And this giant tree just laying right next to it. It's like, how did this happen? It almost looks like a UFO came and just pulled it out of the ground and just dropped it. Like, nope, not this one. It was the weirdest thing. I've never seen it before, but I just had to say that.
Interesting.
It's the weirdest thing. But
You never know with trees, especially when you get into a wetter environment. What happened there was probably root rot, and it just went to that point where it finally fell over. So gotta respect them, no matter how healthy you think they are.
It was so weird. It was like rounded. It almost looked like the top of this microphone.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think with that, that kind of sums up our questions that we had for you. Now we're going to go into some of our viewer questions. I think we have 3, correct? Right? 3 viewer questions. The first one coming from Drew Wells, who we kind of asked this question before, how you landed this job. So I guess we're going to elaborate on it just a little bit. And his question is, how much longer do you see yourself as Timber Joey?
Wow. I got this question from one of our presidents a couple of years ago. It made me a little bit nervous, but I'm wanting to do this as long as they'll let me. You know, I think Jim was quite a bit older than me when he was done, when he retired. So I'm hoping that I've got a few years left. You know, I want to see another championship for sure. I'd really like to see us go far in CONCACAF. And I'd like to be a part of that. So hopefully a few more years at least.
And when the day does come, how hard is it going to be to hang up that chainsaw, leave your legacy behind?
You know, I didn't do a whole lot to create this role. This role was created by somebody else, and I have a lot of respect for that person. And I know that it was hard for him, and I don't want it to be as hard for me. It's something that's very special. I know the Timbers will go through and find the right person, but I know it won't be as hard for me as it was for Timber Jim. And I'm excited to see somebody come in and really make this as awesome as it has been.
Yeah, I mean, and since you're so involved in community, typically you see, well, not too typically, but every now and then you get to see players' numbers retired. Maybe they'll hang up your chainsaw in the rafters.
Maybe.
But from Sam Walsh, he asks, what do you think of the traditions teams have across Major League Soccer? And outside of Timber Joey, what is one of your favorites?
Well, you know, I think that the role that we have with the Portland Timbers and what Jim started and what I've carried on is something that's inspired a lot of clubs. I don't think you would have the driving of the spike in Atlanta if it wasn't for, you know, us doing what we did to make a show out of every goal and have something unique and special for every team. As far as what I really like seeing, I love the grassroots efforts of fans. I think Soccer Moses has a great future. And I really hope that tradition grows a little bit more. And I just really like to see what fans can come up with that will be adopted by clubs.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Now that leads us to our last question from Aaron David, who I believe is a Seattle Sounders fan, right?
Yeah, I actually think he is a Seattle Sounders
fan. So we don't
fan.
know. We don't know if this question is like legit or a troll question. So he said, is there any timber for sale? And if so, he is looking for some Oregon white oak, if you have any available.
I do actually. Oregon white oak is something that is, it's very special to me. It's one of my favorite trees. I've got 3 of them in my backyard that are over 300 years old. Oh, wow. And it's a tree that they're using a lot right now for smoking as smoking becomes more popular up in the Northwest. We don't get mesquite. We don't get a lot of hickory up here. So they smoke with Oregon white oak, which is a really, really sweet hardwood that gets a lot of temperature. So yeah, I've got some available.
Nice.
I'll definitely tell him. Yeah, definitely let him know.
Yeah, we'll reach back to him. And I guess with that, unless you have any last thoughts you want to add or any other questions or I guess statements to make on this upcoming and current MLS season that we're in, and you were talking about CONCACAF, anything other than that, that just wraps up our end here.
Yeah, you know, I'm really excited for this season. I've been explaining to people who've asked what it's been like. I say, you know, it's like an injury. We went through a whole year where we weren't really able to play and get together, and now we're slowly recovering. We're getting a few fans back in our stadium, and hopefully that grows more and more throughout the season. And hopefully by the time we hit playoffs, we're at full capacity and everybody's healthy and safe. So we're just nursing this injury. Got to get through it, and can't wait to see what happens by the end of the year.
Yeah, every day is another step closer. So I guess with that, I hope everybody enjoyed this interview. Timber Joey, thank you so much for joining us for this week's MLS Cafe.
Thank you for having me, guys. I wish you all the best.
Major Stokeage.
Major Stokeage, level 1 on the meter, has to be Carl's Hill for giving this New England Revolution team a revolution on the pitch this season. He was just re-signed by the Revs for, I think, a couple more seasons. 2024, I believe this contract is going to be running through. And, I mean, he's one of the best playmakers in the league. He's been killing for me on my fantasy team. I keep walking out here with wins because I make him my captain. I don't deserve these wins, but he keeps making my dreams come true. Listen, if you follow Major League Soccer, if you're a New England Revolution fan, with the success you guys have this season, you know it's all credited right now, at least the majority of it, to Carlos Hill. I mean, he's the best playmaker in the game right now.
Yeah, man, Carlos Hill is the pill, and it's no placebo, man, because it is working down there in New England. And with that, should we go to level 2 real quick? Major
Level
Stokeage.
2, yeah, you want to take level 2?
That's it. I feel like this is the first time we're actually talking about FC Cincinnati in a good light, because most of the time they do kind of suck. Well, actually, last episode we did talk about their attendance and their viewership, how it was very good, but this is even better here. The first time in franchise history, Major League Soccer, they came back and they won a game. Again, against Montreal, they were down 1-0 in the first 10 minutes of the game. Then somehow, some way, they came back and they won that game 2-1, which is quite interesting too, because they didn't even play at home. They're playing down in the Florida Heat, you know? So it's very interesting that they did win the game. But again, if Kyoto did hit that goal, man, if he did get it in, it would have been 2-2. And we're actually going to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to level 3 on the Stoke meter, which is, what is that, ultimate Stokeage? We're just kind of talking about this. We're going to bring it up one last time. Lucas Zelarayan. Come on, you got to give it to him. The first player to do this with 2 direct free kicks since Giovinco, I believe it was, you were saying before, absolutely single-handedly carry the Columbus Crew to that dub over New York City's football club.
Dude, he has a better free kick accuracy than Nani has a penalty accuracy.
And that's scary. That's saying something.
It is. Again, even in the live stream, if you guys didn't watch the live streams, we do some live streams as well. In the live stream, we even said it before he kicked that ball that it's probably going to be going in.
Yeah.
And it sadly did for us.
It did, both of them too. I mean, they were both almost like PKs.
Yeah, it's weird looking at this one because it's like two sides of a coin here. It's either major disappointment for us or major Stokeage for the rest of the league. So we kept it in major Stokeage, actually ultimate Stokeage in this case.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just the way it's going to be.
And like you're saying, when there comes major Stokeage, there comes major disappointment, which is our next segment.
Major disappointment.
Major disappointment. We are here, and just like you said, with major Stokeage comes major disappointment. The first one being, we did discuss it before, Romel Kyoto's miss the other day, man. What a miss that was. Wide open, literally him and the net. That's all it was. The goalkeeper was out of the equation, and he chooses to hit it on the wrong side of the post. In that situation, he had a better chance of getting it in than out. So, you know, it was actually it was skillful that he actually got it out in that range.
I agree. And you were just saying in and out. Isn't it a shame we don't have any in and outs over here?
It definitely is a shame. You know, I feel like when Chick-fil-A came, that kind of like revolutionized the game on Long Island. But after that, there wasn't really no evolution.
And that kind of brings us to number 2 here for the disappointment here. And speaking of in and out, what's in is Flex. What's out is YouTube TV. LAFC changed up their sponsors. By the way, we just put out a video talking about the sponsors in Major League Soccer, and we ranked them. It was kind of a fun video to do. But back to this, without further ado. They ended their partnership with YouTube TV. A very dirty thing to do, but I am really liking the Flex look that they're going for right now. I think that's an awesome sponsor to have on your kit. Just looks very nice. It's not something like, what Atlanta has. It looks like a goddamn real estate company. But on top of that, listen, nobody's going to compete with ESPN+. It's dominating.
Yeah, man, they're just building such a big monopoly. That's owned by Disney, right? ESPN.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I think they own ABC. I don't know if they own the ESPN.
Well, they're acting like Disney right now, ESPN Plus, because no other streaming platform has a chance right now. Peacock, they can go suck my, but they don't have a chance either. With ESPN Plus, there's so many different sports, so many different genres. No streaming platform can compete.
I agree. Nobody can compete with that, and I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, man, it kind of sucks for LAFC and just for fans in general, Major League Soccer, because most times you can't even watch your home team play. Like, I know with us that happens occasionally.
The blackouts.
When it's not on then it gets blacked out, man, which really sucks. Which they really have to fix that in the league, man. So I feel like that's also a major disappointment in that retrospect.
I agree. So kind of a double whammy.
It is, man. Should we go to the third one, the biggest major disappointment?
I actually don't know what this one is. I haven't read that far ahead.
This is Andy Polo. He got tackled. He got essentially killed against LA Galaxy. Derek Williams with the monster tackle on him. He's going to be out now for the rest of the season. And it's devastating as well because Andy Polo, he was finally finding his form. And there is some big games too happening with Peru very shortly in a couple months. Some World Cup qualifiers or whatnot. Now he can't play with Peru. Now he can't play with Portland Timbers. And Portland, dude, there's injuries left and right. They have more people injured right now than healthy. What's happening this season, man?
I think it's just absolutely crumbling down, man. I mean, it's falling apart faster than I can't think of something off the top of my head. Usually I'm pretty witty here, but I'm not really right now because I'm just kind of thinking about this next segment here because I got a lot of moves I have to make with my fantasy team. As you guys know, we usually close this off with MLS Fantasy. And I've been talking about it a lot today because I'm on kind of a tear. But they are kind of crumbling, so I agree.
Crumbling like my MLS Fantasy team. Should we get that right there?
Yeah, could we get there? Because I have so much I want to say.
Let's go.
MLS Fantasy.
MLS Fantasy, I can't shut up about this episode. Let's talk about your team here first because I told you, because you helped me actually change my team, and I told you had to change yours too.
I should never
And you
helped
brushed
you.
it under the rug here.
I should never helped you, man. I give you too much power.
You did.
Again, right now your record is what, 5-1, bro?
And I didn't even play the first 3 weeks.
And I'm barely floating, bro. I'm 3-3. I'm what is that, 500 for baseball terms?
Dude, I don't know, bro.
Or something. Well, I'm tied right now. I gotta win this game. Again, I forgot to change my squad last week. I actually almost won because Carlos Hill got me 30 points being the captain. Again, Carlos Hill, absolute beauty for fantasy. If you guys don't have him on your team, definitely do have him on your team. But my team, bro, it's falling apart.
Yeah.
It's falling apart big time, you know. I need to make some adjustments. I got Lucas Zelarayan, he's my captain. And I also made a different strategy as well where I have players that could get me some points on my bench. Normally I have like 4 mil scrubs. Now they're actually quite decent.
But are they getting you enough points to win games here?
This is the first week I'm trying this new strategy.
Okay, here's what I did. Obviously, I picked up Chicharito, but he's not the reason I'm winning. I'm winning because Carlos Hill is my captain, and I made Sean Johnson my captain for, I think it was 2 straight weeks. Not Sean Johnson, I'm sorry. Andre Blake. I mean, Andre Blake, my captain for 2 weeks. Yeah, and he also brought me some points too. And the first 2 weeks, I just kept forgetting to change my thing. I had like my whole team was injured and not playing. I had like Pozuelo, Ladero. I had Vela, and he wasn't even around. So my team was in shambles here. I thought there was no way I could come back, and now here I am. I think I'm sitting at the 10th spot on in the leaderboards right now.
See, that's
the thing. Real quick before I get there, I've been constantly changing my team. You would think I'm keeping Chicharito out. Right when he gets too hot, I take him out. I'm not messing around. The only thing I regret doing is last week I had Toddy playing, I had Medina playing, I had Tinnerboom playing, and none of them really did me anything, you know? Overall, I've had sleepers on my team that have really helped me. Mihalovic has been great. I do want to add Higuain. Who else do I have on my team? Really defense. I'm defense heavy too. I mean, some of my guys in the back end there have been absolutely beautiful. Leo's been great. Zimmerman's been great.
See, the one thing that I've learned, the one really life lesson that I learned from creating this league is you don't have to be good. All you have to be is better than your opponent. And I feel like you took that moral and you just ran with it, man.
Exactly, yeah.
Because every single matchup in the beginning, the first, 3? They got like 10 points, 15 points?
Yeah, the first 2 were really bad. And then like even last week, I mean, I was down I think 18 or 28 points or something to start. And then once that second day just kicked in and Carlos Hill was just like, oh shit, there's a game. We went to the moon, bro. As Elon Musk would say, to the goddamn moon.
You did, man. You rotated around that moon. You came back to Earth with a couple presents.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm feeling pretty good. I actually think I can break top 3 by the end of the season.
I think you can too. Before we...
I think I could seize the seas.
Before we go and wrap up this episode, I just want to talk about 2 more players. One of them being Jeff Cameron, again, a new player for FC Cincinnati. And he got a whopping 11 points in his debut. And then his right-hand man, Valencia, that's how you say it. He also got 11 points as well for FC Cincinnati. So they could be 2 bargain picks to pick up, man.
I mean, I feel like we do have to say something nice about FC Cincy after we just put out the Cincy disaster video on our channel.
We could be a good luck charm.
Maybe we are. Maybe we're kind of like the rebound girl. You know, maybe we're going to put that out, make them feel a little shitty about themselves, and they'll come back and be an absolute beauty. But I think talking about beauties, once again, Timber Joey was with us for this episode. We really hope you guys enjoy that interview. And I think on that note, maybe it's time to say have a nice day. Or what's the rest of it?
Adios.